The Canucks are not done. We've seen another massive blockbuster deal involving the Vancouver Canucks and that New York Rangers first round pick. We'll get to all that coming up right now. Hello everyone, welcome back to another video here at the Intent Hockey Channel. Now, before we begin this video, don't forget to like this video and subscribe below. Thank all your support. We're now to without you guys. If you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe button down below and leave a comment down in the comment section below so we can all discuss today's video. So we've seen another Vancouver Canucks blockbuster. Just a couple of hours after they moved JT Miller to the New York Rangers, they made another trade with another Metro Division team, and that was the Pittsburgh Penguins. And this trade is as follows. The Vancouver Canucks acquire two penny UFAs, Drew O'Connor and Marcus Pettersson, from the Pittsburgh Penguins in exchange for the New York Rangers first round pick that we talked about earlier, Desharnais, Danton Heinen, and young prospect Fernstrom. So we'll get to all the pieces here. First, when it comes to the Canucks side, this is a smart move for them. We talked about this in the Miller trade video. We feel that there's a possibility the Canucks could try and flip that first round pick to get some massive upgrades to keep themselves competitive for this upcoming season. That's exactly what they do. Move a first round pick, a couple of offseason acquisitions in Heinen and Desharnais, who weren't fitting in overly bad. Desharnais was probably a little bit worse than Heinen, but they weren't contributing a whole bunch to the Canucks organization, and their third round pick from last year in Fernstrom. So they move all of those guys, but they get some pretty good value in return. They get Drew O'Connor, who's in the final year of a 2-year deal with AAV of $925,000. He's actually been doing really well over the past couple of years, fitting in well as like a third line forward. He's 26 years old, will be a UFA at the end of the year, so he's not a guy who has term on his contract. But last year he put up 16 goals and 33 points in 79 games. He's starting to round out really well as like a solid third line scoring forward. So far this year, it's 6 goals and 16 points in 53 games. Definitely a little bit of a step back from last year, but O'Connor is still a really good guy. I think he'll fit in really well in like a third line or maybe even an elevated role with the Vancouver Canucks, whether it be on like the third line or the second line. I think he'll be a really good piece there for the Canucks. So it's not an overly big addition, but I think a depth winger who could really help them on like their third line is a really good pickup there for the Canucks. And I do think at this point in time, O'Connor is definitely a little bit more valuable than Heinen is. So I think that's a really good pickup there. And they also get another Pettersson. They have Elias Pettersson, they have second Elias Pettersson, and now they have Marcus Pettersson. Marcus Pettersson, who's in the final year of a 5-year deal with AAV of $4.025 million. Is a left shot defenseman who's a lot more defensive minded, which is something I think the Canucks could definitely use. They have two top 4 defensemen who are more offensive minded guys in Ronick and Hughes, but I think they could definitely use a solid, maybe defensive minded guy, Marcus Pettersson. I've heard a couple of people say don't be too surprised if the Canucks try to talk some extension with Marcus Pettersson, which I don't think will be overly surprising. He's a really good left shot defenseman. He's not going to put you up a whole bunch of points, but he will get you a lot of really good defensive abilities. Last year we had a career high in points, putting up 4 goals and 30 points in 82 games. So far this year, a little more on his regular trajectory, having 3 goals and 18 points in 47 games. So not an overly high scoring defenseman, but is a guy who can really play the defensive position well. I think he could work really well behind a guy like Quinn Hughes. I think this is a really good pickup there. I predicted at the Christmas break that the Canucks would go after Marcus Pettersson. This isn't the exact deal I predicted, but he does wind up going to the Vancouver Canucks, and I think if the Canucks just wind up sneaking into the playoffs, this could be a really good, solid add to bolster that blue line. So a couple of really good pickups there for the Canucks, a third line scoring forward and a second pair shutdown defenseman. Not a bad pull here for the Vancouver Canucks. When it comes to the Pittsburgh Penguins side, they get a couple of pieces here. They get Danton Heinen, who's in the first year of a 2-year deal with AAV of $2.25 million. So he's got this year plus next year. We know the Penguins are looking for some younger players. Heinen's not overly young. He's, I think, 29 years old. He'll be 30 soon. So not an overly productive player. I mean, over the past couple of years, Heinen has been a decent bottom 6 forward. He's actually going back to Pittsburgh, was there a couple of years ago. Last year put up 36 points, including 17 goals, which was one of his better goal scoring seasons in 74 games with Boston. Only had 6 goals and 17 points in 50 games with Vancouver this year, so hasn't been as productive in Vancouver as he was in Pittsburgh or in Boston. So definitely I think this change in Pittsburgh could be really good. I think he could be sort of like a Bunting type guy who can fit in there in middle 6 and be a very versatile guy, helping the power play, penalty kill. I think this could be a really good pickup there for Penguins, although I don't think it's an overly fantastic deal for them. They also get Desharnais, who just like Heinen signed for 2 years, this year and next year at $2 million. Just like Heinen, he was signed the offseason by Canucks to sort of help their losses of guys like Lindholm and Zadorov. Never really worked out. Desharnais did in Vancouver, was healthy scratch a whole bunch of times, only playing 34 games this year, having 3 assists after he had 11 points in 78 games with with Edmonton last year. I think he could be a solid third pair guy with Pettersson now gone, that he will need someone to step into that defensive role, and I think Desharnais could be that sort of big body guy that the Penguins really need on that blue line. So I think this could be a really good pickup there for the Penguins. It's not going to be an overly big addition, and I think there's a really good chance that they're still a bad team next year. They could try and flip guys like Desharnais and Heinen, or maybe even in the offseason. I don't think that's overly surprising if they did that, so interesting out there. They also get young prospect Melvin Fernstrom. Fernstrom was the Canucks' first pick in last year's draft, 93rd overall, third round pick in the 2024 draft. He has not signed an NHL contract yet, currently playing over in the SHL, putting up 3 goals and 8 points so far this year in 35 games, so it looks like a very high level prospect. I think eventually could be a solid third line winger there for the Penguins, so I think it's a smart move. Fernstrom's not going to be in the NHL for the next 2-3 years, but I think eventually this deal could pan out for the Penguins. And the last piece of this deal was the first piece that we talked about, and that is the first round pick. The first round pick, which we talked about in our previous video when we talked about the Miller deal, the Rangers sent the Canucks a top 13 protected 2025 first round pick that if it wasn't a top 13, the Rangers would have the option to move it to an unprotected 2026 first rounder. This is an interesting and really smart move by the Canucks, and I think this could be a really good pickup there for the Penguins. I mean, if the Rangers do have a top 13 pick, which at this current point in time they do, it could be a really good pickup there for the Penguins if they do wind up keeping it. If they don't, who knows? Maybe the Rangers have a worse season next year and the Penguins could have a top 10 pick courtesy of the New York Rangers. It's a possibility. So they get a first round pick, which I think is really good value. To get first round pick for Pettersson and O'Connor, I think is really good work there from Kyle Dubas. Also get a young prospect in Fernstrom and a couple of stopgap players in Desharnais and Heinen. So all in all, I think this is basically a win-win deal. I think maybe the Canucks have a little bit of a better outcome because they got Pettersson and O'Connor, who I think are going to be really instrumental to help this team try and get back into the playoffs this year. But I think the Penguins made really good too. I think getting a first round pick and a solid prospect, plus a couple of stopgap players for moving on from Pettersson and O'Connor is actually a pretty good pull. So all in all, I think this is a win-win deal. Maybe a little bit of an edge to the Canucks right now, but I think long term, if Fernstrom does well, if that first round pick helps the Penguins out well, and if Pettersson and O'Connor walk as the free agents, maybe the Penguins win this deal. We'll have to wait and see, but it's an interesting move between the Canucks and the Penguins. So definitely, I'll let you guys thoughts on this deal down in the comment section below. Who do you think won this deal? And I'd love to hear your guys' opinion and to comment on it down in the comment section below. So I'm going to talk for today. Until this video, if you'd like to subscribe below, thank all your support and to you guys. So if you haven't already, don't forget the subscribe button down below. Don't forget to comment down in the comment section below so we can all discuss in this video. Also a blog to my news, rumors, analysis, stuff like that. So check that out. Leave a link in the description below. And I can see you guys all for the next video. See you guys soon.